Hey, FootClan, before today's show, I've got a special message from NHTSA. If you're ever stopped at a railway crossing and the signals are flashing and you don't see the train or it appears to be moving slow and you think you can sneak across the tracks before the train comes, think about this. Even if the engineer sees you and applies the brakes right away, it can take a train over a mile to stop. That is over a mile. By that time, it is too late and the resulting crash will be deadly. So remember, stop. Trains can't.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Chase Edmonds, running back, Arizona Cardinals, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Friday, November 6th. Mike Wright, Jason Moore, I'm Andy Holloway, welcoming you into yet another episode of the show, number 979.
Oh, man.
979?
Yeah, it approaches.
And if you remember, back in the beginning, years and years ago, we said at 1,000 it's over.
We were going to do 1,000 for you, and we are men of our words.
Yeah, men of our words. We said 1,000 perfect shows in consecutive order, and then we'd walk away.
Of our words? Love it.
And so we're getting close. So
I wasn't aware of this plan, guys.
Yeah, It will affect your employment.
Speaking of Brooks, I cannot wait to see what you've come up with for the 1,000th episode. It's going to be so
Brooks.
good.
Yeah, a lot of planning has gone into this. Brooks has spent many a night sleepless thinking about show 1,000. And it's coming soon, Brooks. Are you ready for it? Are you prepared?
Not yet.
It's one of the it's going to be a rare podcast event. It's a puppet show. So it's going to be for the podcast listeners, it's not as good as YouTube, but
it's my wheelhouse.
But he's a puppeteer. That's his specialty.
Oh, you are a puppeteer. That's right. I remember that story.
He's a puppeteer. He's a
mime.
A mime.
Chef.
A chef, yeah. All right, we have a busy show today. We've got a lot of matchups to get into, the rest of the Week 9 matchups that we didn't get to yesterday, and we had a Thursday night football game that took place and was a drubbing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a beatdown, no doubt. Quick takeaways from that game. Davante Adams is very good, also better than everybody else.
He doesn't make sense. He's open all the time, and then when he's not open and Aaron Rodgers throws a ball, you're like, oh, man, Rodgers, you overthrew him by oh, he caught it.
Yeah, he's been absolutely incredible. And if you are a Davante Adams fantasy manager, you are thrilled because you get to start your week with the best possible start. And then Rodgers was great again.
I started the listener league out with a Rodgers-Adams stack.
Oh.
So I apologize to my opponents for ending your week on Thursday night.
I mean, it kind of feels that way, right? I mean, that just seems impossible to overcome. So we'll be here for the tilt if he beats you.
Yes. Yeah. And speaking of tilt, fellas, I was told that Jerick McKinnon had tired legs.
No, his legs are fine.
Well, I mean, you only had 12 carries last night.
I was told that JaMychal Hasty is expected by beat reporters to lead the 49ers in carries.
Well, you should have been in the meeting rooms, Mike. When they had to
oh, man.
They did come out last night and say that Kyle Shanahan, they had talked to him, and with the late news about Brandon Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne both being out of the game, he had built the passing game around 85% of the design intended to go to Brandon Ayuk and 15% of the design intended to go to Kendrick Bourne. And he had to rebuild the offense from the ground up after they lost those pieces, which obviously involved changing the backfield to some degree.
I guess so.
And no, it's just it was tough, man. If you were a JaMychal Hasty manager, you got nothing. I mean, you got nothing last night. It was the inverse of starting Davante Adams, and super disappointing. McKinnon was okay for your fantasy team with the garbage time last-second touchdown. If you have anybody that you know that started Richie James, let me know. But 9 for 184, was really the only wide receiver of relevance. Nothing for Jordan Reed, nothing for anybody else.
Yeah, I would say the other big piece of news is that Aaron Jones is fine. When you watched the game, he didn't end up with some supreme fantasy game, but he was playing against the 49ers. But when you watch the game and he literally touches the ball every single play to start that game, whether it's a pass or a run, it was like, well, all right, I guess they're not managing his workload.
Well, and he said for 2 weeks that he was feeling good, and it showed on the field. They were able to limit his work in the second half due to the game being out of reach. But Aaron Jones should be good moving forward. All right, it is Friday.
FootClan Friday.
All right, this week's winner of an exclusive giveaway from jointhefoot.com. Every week we give something to one of our supporters. This week's winner is this is their name. Okay. The winner is Jason Moore's Fantasy Dictionary.
Oh, all right.
From
My dictionary, good job.
From Patreon. That's a short book. Alvin Kamara signed jersey.
And a lot of misspellings.
Alvin Kamara signed jersey. Congratulations.
New spellings, Mike.
That will be in the mail.
Corrected.
Corrected spellings. Recover rate is in there. Use the registration code BALLERS.
Definition, to recoup.
That's right. To recuperate is the definition. PristineAuction.com. Use the code BALLERS. Get a $10 coupon towards your first sports memorabilia purchase. Be sure to follow the show over at on Twitter at the FF Ballers, and you'll see other giveaways that we do throughout the year, sports memorabilia from Pristine Auction. And you can watch the show over on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. Let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, daily COVID update. Chris Jones, defensive tackle extraordinaire from the Chiefs, on the COVID list.
Yeah, and this was a pretty late addition, so I'm skeptical that he would be able to be active, assuming that this is just a contact situation. We don't know, but that's good news for the Panthers' running game, and Christian McCaffrey, should he be activated, which we anticipate he will.
Yeah, it seems inevitable at this point. The Bears have been cleared to return to their facility, which is good news. The Dolphins had an assistant coach test positive today. They're in the, quote, intensive protocols, which all these teams are shifting to with any news of positive results, which seems to be working, right? You shift to these protocols, and most of these teams have been able to return, play in their games, and so you're happy to see that. There was significant fines yesterday for John Gruden and the Raiders, including the loss of a draft pick, a 6th-round pick, due to breaking protocol because it jeopardizes the rest of the league. So,
hey man, take my draft pick, man.
This mask is sweaty, man. All right, injury.
People have no idea who we were just doing right there because it's so bad.
It is terrible. Josh Jacobs, guys, downgraded to did not practice for Thursday's game, and they
practice.
What did I say?
Game.
That's a fair point. No game. Did not practice on Thursday. Theo Riddick was promoted from the practice squad.
Uh-oh. Now, he missed the practice primarily due to illness. So that's comforting in the sense that if someone's missing a late week practice, you want it to be an illness. That's when they come back and play. It's not an injury. But he is still dealing with a knee issue, so you just question. Because he's missing and Theo Riddick comes up, you question, man, will we not have him? I've been looking for more information on Josh Jacobs. Right now, I expect him to still play, but you got to monitor tomorrow or today now.
Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Wilkins both practiced in full on Thursday. I guess Jordan Wilkins was dealing with a groin injury. Taylor with the ankle. That was a little frightening. Actually,
that
was a
me.
real.
My groin.
That's a scary groin injury live on the show. You might have actually pulled your groin doing that.
Once a day.
Michael Thomas limited at Thursday's practice. Drew Brees was actually limited in practice due to a shoulder injury, practicing on the side. You have to expect that Brees will be out there in a very important divisional game against the Bucs.
You do. And but I'm just saying
that was a man talking to himself in the mirror.
Yes. I don't want to sound an alarm, and that's why I'm saying you do have to expect he'll be fine. He says it's minor, but I worry about injuries when you're north of 40. When you're up there in age, there was just a foot injury that was fine with Peyton Manning, and all of a sudden it was like, ooh.
Take a deep breath.
I know.
He'll probably practice in full today, and we'll be fine.
Would you be looking at streaming options? I mean,
I'm
the
not
matchup,
playing Drew Brees anyways.
That's what I mean. The matchup is already rough against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Would this solidify that you're going to make the move to stream? Because Drew Brees is Sunday night. You should have information on Sunday morning whether or not there's any concern of him missing, but you would stream?
Yeah, I
like
think
Ben Roethlisberger against Dallas.
Yes, I would
Drew
much
Brees.
rather play Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay.
Ezekiel Elliott did some rehab work dealing with a hamstring.
Yoo-hoo.
So we'll have to monitor that. He's been losing some reps to Tony Pollard to begin with. The offense, I mean, this is maybe the most difficult situation for a Zeke manager that you can have, because Pittsburgh is – look, the only times at all that running backs have beat Pittsburgh, it's been on one big play. It's been the Miles Sanders breakaway run.
Arthur.
It's been Melvin Gordon catching a longer touchdown pass. It has not been it's not been the Zeke style.
Yeah.
Zeke is
Chip
8-yard chunks, and against Pittsburgh, those are 8-inch chunks. Yeah, they're not. What do you do? I mean, do you pivot from Ezekiel Elliott? That's the real.
I don't pivot, but I see him as an RB2. I mean, right now I believe I have
David
him.
Montgomery or benching Zeke against Pittsburgh.
Holy crap. I mean, that's a fair question.
I mean, because that's a situation somebody could really be facing.
Yeah, David Montgomery against Tennessee, I would probably play him over Ezekiel Elliott right now.
I would play David Montgomery.
I mean, Montgomery's been better 3 straight weeks than Zeke.
Justin Jackson against the Las Vegas Raiders.
I would put Justin Jackson.
Oh,
in my
man.
lineup.
I
don't like this world.
No.
Todd Gurley, who I'm a little bit concerned with, but who's been getting in the end zone. I've got him ahead as well. I mean, it's not great. Are you hopeful if you, let's say you're the Zeke manager and you have him and Pollard, are you hopeful that they just say rest up Zeke?
Probably.
Yeah.
Oy. Yeah, we weren't excited about that matchup with a healthy Zeke.
Correct.
We said Christian McCaffrey should be active. Sonny Michel returned to practice, not activated yet. Devonta Freeman returned to practice. So, the running back situation in New York, you don't really want a piece of it, but he could be back on the field. Kenyon Drake, been off the field. He's going to miss this week, right? I mean, it's going to be Chase Edmonds this week. And then Matt Breida with the hamstring did not practice. So Patrick Laird, Jordan Howard, who knows?
I think Laird is a bit banged up as well.
And Dwayne Washington won't be able to be active, right?
DeAndre Washington.
Oh, did I say Dwayne?
Yeah. I don't know.
What's the difference?
D. Washington, I don't know off the top of my head. Need to look into it because we know that the protocol is a player signed off the street. They will have to pass all the COVID protocols, but Washington is already inside of those protocols, so I'm not sure if he could be active or not.
Yeah, I mean, we had that happen with Le'Veon Bell, but it wasn't a.
I don't think that was COVID related.
Yeah, no, it was. That was where he wasn't
okay.
able to make it on the roster. So I don't believe DeAndre Washington can be active for this game.
So, shot in the dark for the Miami running back room. Who are you?
I would take Jordan Howard because Jordan Howard will, at the very least, still be the goal line back. And if he gets down there, you can count on him for a touchdown. But yeah, I think Jordan Howard in a pinch is someone you could play this week if Breida is out.
Yeah, the Cardinals are 21st against the run this year. I guess it is a shot in the dark that you could take. I almost dropped Jordan Howard from a dynasty roster last week.
Oh.
And I was just, it's like, is there any chance he could ever be relevant again? And here we are. Maybe. All right, any other news that you guys want to talk about? A reminder, Mike will be live Sunday morning. We'll have game day alerts over at jointhefoot.com. We'll have the Injury Blitz podcast later today from Matthew Betts, our injury expert, who's been extremely helpful this year. I mean, really insightful in terms of, especially at the trade deadline when you're looking at players. I brought up Kenny Golladay. Like, how long is this injury supposed to be when you deal with a hip injury? It's not a traditional hamstring thing, okay? And he says, okay, 2 to 4 weeks. Looks like a hip flexor type of strain. Very valuable information for informing your trade decisions. All right, no other news. Matchup time.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, let's do it. We covered the Broncos, Falcons, Seahawks, Bills, Bears, Titans, Ravens, Colts, Panthers, Chiefs on yesterday's show, so we've got quite a few to get through today, so why not start with this absolute slugfest? The New York Giants at 1-7, taking on the Washington football team at 2-5. Washington, 2.5-point favorites. It's a 42.5-point over-under. That's right.
Washington trying to tie up in the win column with the division-leading Philadelphia Eagles.
They could win the division.
They could.
You've seen more disciplined football from Washington over the last couple of weeks. And, that's not an endorsement of Kyle Allen, but this is a team that has a nice defensive front, and they're going to play a lot of divisional games against inept offenses. I mean, the Giants and Cowboys and what we've seen from the Eagles lately, who knows? I mean, who knows is going to make the playoffs from that division. But in this game, we are breaking down the fantasy implications. Week 6, the Giants beat the Washington football team 20-19, and you should start the Washington defense in this one, or you can.
Yeah.
They're allowing only 185 passing yards per game. That's fourth best in football. And sometimes I don't think we notice that when we blur our eyes staring at the NFC East, but they've been pretty good on defense.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. It's interesting. Washington's not that far away. Like I'm not saying they're going to compete this year. Of course, they could win the division. They're still in it. But moving forward, look, just a quick peek into 2021. Don't be surprised if Washington is one of those teams where you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
No, Washington's not that far away.
They just need a quarterback, which is hard to come by, though, and I think that's the real issue. They look good on defense. They've got some good playmakers on offense, but I don't think Kyle Allen can take a step forward to, even next year to
he's
be
a Band-Aid.
Exactly. He's a Band-Aid, and whether or not they can find someone.
I know a guy.
Do tell.
His name is Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think he's played for Washington before, so it's on his to-do list.
Bucket list?
Yeah. All right. But in this game, fantasy-wise, Antonio Gibson is the running back that you would play from Washington. The Giants are in the bottom third against the run. You can play Gibson. We have him at RB12 on the week, our consensus rankings. J.D. McKissick, on the other hand, smooches, in a PPR league as a flex. He's going to get play in this game. There aren't pass-catching options outside of Terry McLaurin, really. So McKissick is a dart throw at best.
He is a dart throw, and Gibson has been the leading rusher on Washington every single game, except for one, and that was when they played the Giants a couple weeks ago. McKissick was actually the leader. Now, that is not an indictment of saying I'm benching Gibson, just saying McKissick is worth a look at a flex in a PPR.
Yeah, I agree. And then Logan Thomas did practice in full, so he's had a couple of decent weeks at tight end. He's in the dart throw category.
Yes.
The Washington defense that we were just talking about, they're 10th against fantasy quarterbacks, only 17 points given up on average. But they're first against fantasy wide receivers, only 17.7 fantasy points per game given up on average. That's going to be tough to break, that number up across Shepard, Slayton, Tate. If they're only giving up a couple hundred yards in the passing game, look, I like Shepard moving forward. I think he's going to be frequently targeted. But the targets last week, they weren't extremely high value. I'm a little hesitant about Shepard this week. I think he's outside that top 24 range.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I like Shepard rest of season.
Yeah.
Because you're usually going to be down big. You're going to have to throw. And, if you're slinging the ball a ton, Sterling Shepard will get his 6, 7, 8, 9 receptions and whatever yardage comes along with it. This game does not project to be one of those games. This is a game with, a 42.5-point over-under, a low-scoring slugfest of two mediocre to bad offenses and up-and-coming defenses. So, yeah, this isn't a game where I want to play any of the wide receiving options. In fact, if I had to pick one receiving option, and how much this pains me, it would be Evan Ingram. Because I think, the small size, that's the one place Washington has been beat. I don't want to play Evan Ingram, but that would be who I would pick out of this group of receiving options for the Giants.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a lot to break down here. I would Shepard's in play as a low end wide receiver 2 for me, and Ingram. I'm with you, Jason. It's been very disappointing. We finally saw Evan Ingram get a target that was like more than 2 yards down the field this past week. Maybe that's a
well. We saw
sign
him catch one. We've seen him get those targets.
One, the one that he dropped. I get it. It was there, but on the season, it's been very bizarre how close to the line of scrimmage that they're choosing to throw the ball to Evan Ingram.
Sure. FootClan, before we move on to the next matchup, want to thank Chrysler Pacifica. They're helping sponsor the show, and they make an awesome minivan. I am legitimately, truthfully, all about that minivan life.
You are about the minivan life.
I remember my wife, before we had kids, say she will never get a minivan. She'll never do it. And then we had 3 kids, and we ended up looking at one, and we're like, oh dang, this is awesome. The sliding doors, the movies on the back of the
school drop-offs, upgraded.
It's amazing. The Chrysler Pacifica, they're America's first and only hybrid minivan, so it's awesome. They have the stow-and-go seating where the seats go all the way down, maximum storage. They are the ones with the Uconnect theater system with the dual 10-inch HD touch screens and built-in games and apps, and they were the 2019 IIHS top safety pick. Chrysler's offering fantasy footballers listeners an exclusive $1,000 bonus cash offer towards a new Chrysler Pacifica or the Pacifica Hybrid. Here's what you do. FootClan, you visit pacificafootballers.com, and you sign up to receive the offer, updates, and more from the Chrysler brand. And now with the Pacifica family pricing, your family is their family. Customers can receive Chrysler's employee price plus this extra $1,000 for being a FootClan listener. Again, that's pacificafootballers.com.
All right, the Detroit Lions at 3-4 take on the 2-5 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 4.5-point favorites. It's a 50.5-point over/under. There's a lot to break down in this game. Is Kirk Cousins? Let's start there. Is Kirk Cousins a good streaming option this week? I believe he was one of your 2 streamers.
He is my stream. When you look at rostered percentages, who's available, who's on bye, Kirk Cousins is in play. I'm not calling for this is a smash play where Kirk Cousins can finish as a top 5 guy, but he's someone that you can turn to. So like maybe you're in the Drew Brees dilemma. You could turn to Kirk Cousins and know that he's not going to tank your week.
I like that. Matthew Stafford, what's the latest on his COVID situation?
His situation is this. He has not, that we are aware of, tested positive for COVID. He was a high-risk close contact, and so as these negative tests continue, as we expect them to, he will play in this game. But the timeline says his last test that he needs will say he does not get to practice. So this will be a practice-less start for Matthew Stafford, which should be fine. I mean, it's not like Matthew Stafford.
He's played a while.
He's played, a few games before in the NFL. So he should be fine, but won't be practicing.
So he's back on the streaming potential list then in this game because the defense for the Vikings is really the key cog in that stream call. I mean, they're 28th against quarterbacks, 27th against wide receivers, 27th against tight ends. Love Hawkinson in this game because of that. I think he's going to be targeted early and often. This game, it has the makings of one that can hit the over and be pretty fantasy relevant for a lot of players.
Yeah, I went back and I looked at the last couple of years of matchups between these two teams, and it seems like you get one really good game and one a little bit disappointing game per year in this divisional matchup. So we'll see which one it is this week. Without Golladay there,
the line has moved down. So
was that Stafford fears?
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
We know that Golladay will not be available in this game. He's I guess technically listed as doubtful. He's not supposed to be there. Dalvin Cook, you play, but what do you do at the running back position if you're shooting your shot on the Detroit side? Are you just starting Swift from this point forward? I mean, he's been very disappointing since he was kind of quote unquote anointed the starting role. But this is par for the course for Detroit. I mean, you just never trust the Detroit running back.
Yeah, That's what it is. I mean, it's one of those things where if I had to pick one, I would pick Swift. Why? Not because he's guaranteed the workload or he's the first man up. He certainly wasn't this last week. Because he's the most talented. He's the one that could break a big play, is used in the passing game a little bit more. That's where his value is. 4 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets in his last 3 games since the bye.
He's averaging 4 targets a game.
Yeah, so I would say he's the one to pick, but I don't have any high hopes.
Yeah, no Golladay could mean that those target counts even go a little bit higher. And you've heard this refrain from the show from several players. When you have a murky backfield, seems like, Jason and I, we've been talking about going with the guy that has the potential to break a bigger play because you're not going to have a ton of opportunity. So you want the player that's going to maybe make his fantasy day on 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah, for this particular backfield, I agree with you guys on that one because there's no there's not a designated goal line back. It's like Peterson gets goal line carries sometimes. Kerryon Johnson every once in a while, and DeAndre Swift is in the mix as well. It was a one of those like really unfortunate things of before last week against the Colts where DeAndre Swift, running back 50, super disappointing, but was on the field for 62% of the snaps. The 3 prior weeks, he was a top 20 running back, but on the field under 50% of the time. It's just another sign of the Detroit Lions coaching staff is just going to bamboozle you with their running back usage.
Well, they give Kyle Shanahan a call right before the game.
Man.
They're like, who should I start? And they say, well, do you have the blindfold on? And then they throw the dart, and then they figure it out.
Yeah, but Shanahan's like, but make sure that the starter is actually very good for fantasy.
Right.
And then that's when Patricia's like, oh.
Can't do that.
I'm out on that one. See you later, big
Can you
fella.
give me that playbook then, buddy?
Let me share an interesting stat or two with you guys. The Vikings wide receiving core, last 5 games, target-wise, Adam Thielen, 37, Justin Jefferson, 34. Air yards, Adam Thielen, 425, Justin Jefferson, 423.
Nice.
Both of these players are startable this week. Absolutely. I've got Justin Jefferson as my start of the week. And then on the other side, I have Hawkinson as my start of the week. I think he's going to be great. Do you take a shot on a Marvin Jones? We've talked about that a little bit. He's more of a flex play if Stafford is in the lineup, right?
Oh, for sure. I don't want to rely on backups in a game where they will just want to run the ball. But Marvin Jones is certainly in play this week. I've got him around wide receiver 25, so he's in that flex category where you can put him in. He should have enough to where he actually has a floor this week of 40, 50 yards and 4 or 5 receptions, but he always has the multi-touchdown upside.
And on average right now, the Minnesota Vikings are giving up the most or the second most points per game to the wide receiver position. There's only been one set of wide receivers that was disappointing against the Minnesota Vikings. That was week 2. That was the Indianapolis Colts. And if you remember the game script of that game, it got out of hand for the Colts. I feel like Phillip Rivers threw the ball like 15 times in that game. So Houston wide receivers, the Seattle duo, Atlanta, Green Bay, they can be beat. So, yes, Marvin Jones is in play.
All right, moving on. Hashtag basement battle. Houston Texans 1-6 taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars at 1-6. Texans are this is a big line for a 1-6 team. They are 6.5-point road favorites. It's a 50.5-point over/under. And look, I get it. Jake Luton is going to make his first start.
I don't think the Houston Texans have a food allergy this week.
Nice. Luton free.
Yeah. That's right. I went there, everybody.
Yeah, but you did it strategically, creatively. I appreciated it.
Thank you.
6'6" rookie, Jake Luton.
That's his best quality.
That he's tall?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Doug Marrone coming out, throwing Minshew under the bus, saying Jake Luton's got a better arm than Gardner Minshew.
It was a pretty savage move there by someone who, like, I think a coach is posturing for his job, but
there's no reason not to get him out there, to be honest. If you're trying to figure out whether you need to draft a quarterback or whatever the case may be.
I'm perfectly fine with the move. But
you got to be a jerk.
And Gardner Minshew has been a piece of the puzzle of why they have been so bad. He is not the sole reason why they have been so bad.
I think Jake's a lot better in every way.
Why didn't you start him earlier, Doug?
Fair point. I mean, the Houston defense allowing the highest quarterback rating in the NFL right now.
I mean, Houston's defense is great for fantasy across the board. This is one of the biggest question marks is what do you do with all of these options? You're DJ Chark. I think I've seen more questions about DJ Chark this week than anyone else, and it's a huge question mark. I do not want to play DJ Chark, but you can, and you could very well end up lucky because the matchup is great. Chark is talented, but it's like, do you want to gamble with gluten? I don't.
Yeah, we know what can
processed wheat, very difficult to digest.
DJ, look, we got a situation or a connection here. Luton, tall.
Yeah.
DJ Chark, also tall.
Well,
throw it over everybody.
I think it could be a Chenault week.
It could be.
You know what's very interesting, and I'm just going to throw this complete talking point out there. It may have no relevance. Michael Gallup had like his best – he was the leading wide receiver in Dallas when Ben DiNucci came in, and Cooper disappeared, and here was Michael Gallup showing up. You know, these backups and the rapport they build with, you know, rookie – that's a rookie-rookie connection, Mike. If you've got height, you've got rookie with Chenault. I don't know who to pick, and you're leaning on Jake Luton. I do think someone will be all right. I mean, this is a game where, you know, Houston is a bad defense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Someone should be fine in this game because it could be multiple different options, and there is the reality that Luton just stinks so much that he, you know, doesn't support other options. I'm pivoting. I'm not going to start them. I'm not going to start Chark or Chenault or Keelan Cole. It could be Cole.
Then what about James Robinson? We highlighted earlier in the news of like Zeke. I know the matchup is much better here for Robinson and the Jaguars against the Houston Texans, but we've seen what happens to a team when their quarterback play goes from competent to disaster.
We've seen it multiple times now after the Nick Mullins game last night.
Yeah, and your running backs – the production just goes away compared to what you are used to. Robinson looks like a legit player. I mean, he has been breaking tackles. He's been incredibly impressive. Are you just smashing him in your lineup? Are you benching him? Are you playing him, adjusting your expectations? Where are you at with Robinson?
I'm definitely not benching James Robinson. I don't have the expectation that he's going to continue to smash the same levels. You know, a couple weeks ago, he was 12 for 29. Didn't look great on the ground. But he's been – look at his targets since pretty much the whole season. 6 targets, 4 targets, 7, 4, 6. He gets enough work. Now, the quarterback change says that might not happen.
Yeah.
So there is concern and expectations need to be adjusted. The nice thing is they're not going from a prolific offense with a great Dak Prescott and then down to – they've been playing with a struggling quarterback with a broken thumb who's looked bad, and James Robinson has been smashing. So I am starting him and just adjusting my expectations.
I'm with you, and he was 13 for 48 against Houston earlier in the year, 7 targets in that game. Look, Vegas has an implied point total of 22 points for Jacksonville despite the rookie behind center. I can't imagine they score 22 points without James Robinson having a big role. Deshaun Watson, yep, you're playing him. He's been great. In fact, he's been the quarterback 6, the quarterback 1, and the quarterback 9 in the Bob Free era. When Bill O'Brien has departed, Deshaun Watson's been outstanding. He's got weapons. Will Fuller's still there. Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, David Johnson.
Those 3 guys, I'm starting all 3. I'm starting
Cobb?
Oh, did you say?
I did throw Cobb in there, but you're talking about Fuller, Cooks, and David Johnson.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Fuller, Cooks, and David Johnson. I'm starting all 3. I'm happy to do that. David Johnson was almost my start of the week. He's a great play. The Jacksonville defense is bad against running backs. David Johnson's been a top 12 guy in all the games since Bill O'Brien's been gone. So, yeah, he's a must-start.
All right, man. The Las Vegas Raiders at 4-3 taking on the Los Angeles Chargers.
That you? How did you get here?
I had 2 and 5. It was outstanding, right?
Yeah.
Chargers 1-point favorites at home in this game. Can we double check that line?
Ooh.
That's a little surprising to me.
Really? That's surprising to you?
Well, it's a tremendous compliment from Las Vegas. Well, not the Raiders, but from the actual bookmakers. It's a great compliment to Justin Herbert and what he's done for this team. For the Chargers to be favored in this game, I mean, the Raiders just won last week. They have a 4-3 record, and here they are underdogs on the road, 51.5 point over-under. I don't know. Feels like a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, it's we've talked about it yesterday. We had a lot of starts of the week. Both quarterbacks here are Mike and my start of the week. These teams are the worst and second to worst at against the quarterback position over the last 5 weeks, and so I love this game. This is a game that I think
Send in the car.
yes.
Send in the car.
Sit in the car, grow the herbs. Let's go.
Herbert, Carr, both in our top 12 this week. Put them in your lineup. And, Justin Herbert is a fun quarterback to have on your roster. He really is. Because it just seems like the game plan, regardless of the score and what quarter they're in, they're willing to let him threaten down the field, which is just such a great thing to do for – because that's his special sauce. I mean, if you take that away from him and you make Justin Herbert a game manager because he's a rookie, right? Rookie in quotes, you take away what makes him special and the ability for him to do what he's done. So 3+ touchdowns in 4 straight games, and like Jason said, Las Vegas dead last in terms of the defending the quarterback position. They don't hit the quarterback, they don't sack the quarterback, and you're not going to sack Justin Herbert getting out of the pocket. He is a smash play.
Herbert, while the Chargers' record is, it's not great, and Justin Herbert himself really only has the one win. Last week was the first time they had that Herbert has lost by more than one score. Like the Chargers,
like Cincinnati.
The Chargers have been close in every single game.
Yeah,
and they were winning that Broncos game until they fell apart.
All right, Justin Jackson, I think, is a great play this week. We've got him in the top 12. He had a monster performance last week against a pretty formidable run D. He got a lot of opportunity, 20 touches. He's a very strong start.
Yeah, we've seen Justin Jackson now 2 of the last 3 weeks. He's seen over 20 opportunities. So I think he's in a great spot. The team is recognizing Joshua Kelly has fallen off since those first couple of weeks where it looked like, oh, crap, it's going to be Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly. So the 4th-round rookie has disappointed. Meanwhile, Justin Jackson continues to impress.
5 or more targets in 3 straight weeks for Justin Jackson as well since he's been back on the field, which is nice to see. Josh Jacobs, we talked about it in the news and notes, dealing with an illness. This is a matchup that he can exploit if he can get on the field. So if he can't, if for some reason Josh Jacobs misses this game, are you interested in playing the backups against this Chargers defense?
Not especially. I think if he misses the game, there's going to be some dump-offs that you could, maybe you get
like
some PPR points from Richard. But I'm not interested in picking them up and playing them. I think you're going to have a lot more Waller if Josh Jacobs is gone. And this it could be one of those downfield games that Derek Carr's been wanting to get back to, whether it's Nelson Aguilar, whether it's Henry Ruggs. I'm open to both of those options.
Yeah, they both seem like they are potential starts. Jason has Ruggs as a taking it up to 100 player this week. Keenan Allen, you always play Keenan Allen.
Yes.
But Mike Williams, 4 targets over 20 yards last week. That is his game. And if you give Mike Williams 4 opportunities down the field, I like my odds of having a nice fantasy week. So it's not as reliable a start as other wide receivers, but it is an exciting start against the Raiders in this one.
Since returning from his injury, he suffered the injury in week 3, missed week 4. So in those last 3 weeks, he's been a top 10 wide receiver in 2 of those games. Unfortunately, the one in the middle against Jacksonville, he had 1 reception for 4 yards. I feel like that's the anomaly. You got to just toss that one out. Not that he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver every single week, but he's going to be far more involved in that weird 3-target game. I mean, you're like 6+ targets for Mike Williams, and the fact that that's what I'm going to project, and the fact that those are 20+ air yard types of throws, you just need to connect on 1 or 2 of them, and you've got a fine fantasy week.
No question. The Steelers 7-0 taking on the Dallas Cowboys at 2-6. Steelers are Mondo favorites. That's the official term. 14-point road favorites. It's a 41.5 over/under. That is not a lot, which means Dallas has an implied point total of fewer than 14 points in this game.
Oh, that's commending from Vegas to give them that many points.
Oh, you mean another?
Yeah.
It's a compliment?
It is.
I mean, it feels that way. It certainly does. Now, we did see a game like last night with Nick Mullins playing awful. Garbage time is a spectacular thing, and a lot of the time that's what goes into the equation here. But, I mean, Pittsburgh is just set up to I'm not predicting anything good from Dallas.
No. How could you? The last 3 weeks, they've scored 10 points, 3 points, and 9 points.
That means the Jets probably outscored them over the last 3 weeks.
Impressive. That's why Adam Gase still has his job. He's doing great.
So, yeah, I mean, you don't know if it's going to be Cooper Rush, Garrett Gilbert. You know that they will be on their back because they will be sacked frequently by this defensive front that is dominating. I mean, you would need Pittsburgh to really just not show up.
Who would you rather play, Mike Williams or the Pittsburgh DST? If you could put them in a wide receiver spot, because I think it's the Pittsburgh DST.
I think you're right.
There's no way they don't get like tons of
How
sacks,
do they not
turnovers.
score? I mean,
seriously.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right.
If the Dallas Cowboys
Can I
had
flex
the ball,
the defense this week?
If they had the ball 100% of the time and they just said, hey, offense, Pittsburgh, when we get it, we're punting every single play. Who wins that game? I think
Pittsburgh wins.
Yeah, that's funny. Not for Cowboy fans.
No.
Not for Brooks.
Sorry, Brooks.
Now, Brooks may be starting at quarterback. Is that true, Brooks?
No, I refuse.
They asked. They did ask, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They asked. He got the call from Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anybody – all right. The Cowboys side of the ball, if Zeke is in, I'm going to play him because I'm not going to go to the waiver wire and grab a – I'm not going to go grab a
You're hoping
for
you
anyone from the Raiders.
10 volume points
like-
from
like-
Zeke. That's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, and Tony Pollard, he's been getting far more involved. I mean, you could even –
I don't
No.
think you
No?
can start
No.
him. No. We just talked about this is a team that's going to score around 10 points.
Mike was pretty quick with the – no?
Well, I'm just like the reception
No.
work is there.
I mean,
A
if
little bit.
Zeke
No,
is
I
out,
guess it was
if
just
Zeke
last
is
week.
out, you can take that shot. Yeah.
Okay.
But Amari Cooper is the big question. Such a huge name. So talented the beginning of the year. It's not a question to me, but it's a question to a lot of the FootClan out there that are saying, I know it's third string, but he's still Amari Cooper. This is still an NFL team. I mean, we're starting guys like Denzel Mims sometimes in a pinch.
He's the 13th ranked wide receiver on this year.
Yeah, he's been awesome. To me, there's no chance that I would start Cooper, Lamb, or Gallup in this game.
It's probably better to just leave him.
So Marvin Jones or Amari Cooper?
Oh, Marvin Jones for sure.
All right.
DJ Chark. We talked about, would you start DJ Chark? I don't know. I don't
I would
want
start
to.
him over Amari
I would
Cooper.
start him over Amari Cooper.
Oof.
I know it's sad. And
It is.
And Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, I've dropped them in my leagues. I'm not dropping Cooper because Andy Dalton will be back. And all jokes aside, and obviously we saw him and he wasn't great, he is going to be good enough to at least have Amari Cooper be relevant. We saw him be the number one target for this game. OUT.
Amari Cooper, when Andy Dalton was starting 3 weeks ago, he was the number 6 overall fantasy wide receiver. He went 7 for 79 and a touchdown. So you're right. I would definitely not be dropping Amari Cooper, but there's no shame in pivoting from Amari Cooper this week with Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush behind center.
Are you
Oh,
trying?
now-
Are you going to try and trade for Amari Cooper right now?
Maybe after this week.
Okay.
Yeah, after this week, it'll be great. Say, hey, instead of dropping Amari Cooper, you want to just give him to me? Now, I didn't think about if it is Cooper Rush. We have a bit of a name situation here. Little connection extraordinaire. Maybe then
Cooper squared.
we'd be really hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and say a few words about the Pittsburgh side. You can stream Big Ben. You can play James Conner. He's start of the week for me. Dallas is giving up 171 rushing yards per game, in case you were curious. And that's within reach for James Conner in this game. Deontay Johnson, yes. Chase Claypool, you can flex him. Scored last week. And then Juju, the targets are there. Production not as much, but I think all three of them are in play.
I agree. You could start Juju in this matchup. The target, he's stunk, but the targets the last 2 weeks, 14 targets, 8 targets. And the nice thing is, this is a really bad team. So it's the defense if you're wanting to say Juju's going to break some tackles finally and take a 30-yard touchdown, I would say, well, where's the Dallas defense? And they're here this week.
All right, let's break down this. And then Eric Ebron is Mike's start of the week. I'll throw that in there as well. The Dolphins, 4-3, taking on the Cardinals at 5-2. Cardinals are 4-point home favorites. It's a 49.5-point over-under. And look, here's the headline. Tua's going to need to pass for more than 93 yards like he did last week if he wants to win this game. So
yeah, it was hard to scout Tua last week because he didn't look great. He didn't do anything other than the one touchdown to Devontae Parker that looked like probably shouldn't have been thrown, but happy to see it done. But at the same time, he wasn't needed. They didn't need him to do anything. The defense scored like 18 times. And so now I believe that he will be needed. You're not going to start him. He didn't look great to me. I don't think he's going to be good enough this year to be started in fantasy. But he's a storyline you're keeping your eyes on.
Kyler Murray's the only quarterback with a top 12 performance each and every week. You play Kyler Murray, and you don't think twice. 63 rushing yards per game. Chase Edmonds is a smash play this week because volume is going to be there. He's going to get all the opportunities on the ground and through the air for Arizona. Now, the one area that the Dolphins have been still struggling against is the running back position, 28th in the league. So Edmonds is a no-brainer.
Yeah, Miami's been allowing a first down on 34% of opponent rushes. That's the highest in the NFL, and I think Chase Edmonds might go north of that this week.
Talked about Jordan Howard. You're pretty much, if you're taking a shot there, he'd be the shot. Could get a goal line touchdown. Arizona is in the upper half against opposing running backs. Coming off the bye, at home, not excited about Jordan Howard.
No, you're not excited about it.
Said most GMs around football.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, if Breida does miss the game, which is too early to know, but if he does miss, I think Jordan Howard will have
too early to call
13 to 15 carries and goal line opportunities if they exist. That's something I'm willing to start. All
right, DeAndre Hopkins, yes. What about Christian Kirk? I mean, Christian Kirk is obviously the next man up behind DeAndre Hopkins. He's had touchdown opportunities. I think you're counting on a touchdown. If you start him, you're hoping you get that, but it could happen in a game where the Cardinals have almost 27 projected points.
He did see 8 targets last week. That was his season high. Matched the season high in receptions with 5.
He's the big play guy, too. I mean, they take shots down the field to him.
Yeah. And, I mean, his touchdowns, though, like, am I remembering correctly that both touchdowns were shorter?
Yes, this last week
against Seattle?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the week before, though, he had the deep bomb touchdown, the 80-yarder against Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona has an implied team total of nearly 27 points, so you could take the chance.
He's a top 12 wide receiver, 2 consecutive starts.
Well, 4 touchdowns will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he had 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago and still barely made it into the wide receiver 1 category, I think that's wild stuff.
Are you playing Mike Williams or Christian Kirk?
Mike Williams.
Yep.
Are you playing Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk?
Oh, Christian Kirk.
Is there a name I can throw out there where you will answer Amari Cooper? Probably not.
Sure.
I would.
Preston Williams or Amari Cooper?
Perfect example. I would take Amari Cooper there.
Okay. All right. Devontae Parker.
That's a good name to throw out. I really don't like Devontae Parker this week. I think I would probably start him ahead of Amari Cooper, but he's not far away. If you get Patrick Peterson on you, and this offense, we don't know if they can move. That I'm concerned there.
Yeah. The Saints 5-2 taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-2. Sunday night football game. Buccaneers 4.5-point favorites. It's a 50.5 over under. We've broken down the kind of injury situation with Breeze. We've talked a lot about Michael Thomas. I'll take one final call here at the end of the Friday show. Are you confident Thomas will be back out on the field and that fantasy owners should play him?
Yes-ish.
Yeah, I do. Right now, I project him to be out on the field. If he's on the field, I will be starting him.
Yeah, I can agree with that part.
All right. This has been a nice year for Tom Brady. I know, Jason, you just acquired him in our League of Record. Quarterback 7 on the week. That's where we have him ranked. New Orleans has allowed the second most touchdown passes this year, the 4th highest quarterback rating. It has been and not good for that Saints defense. That was supposed to be their identity coming into this year, was really being able to stifle opposing offenses, and has not happened so far. You know, it's a little bit of chicken egg with them not being as good of an offense too, and not having Michael Thomas, but more of the same from the Bucs offense in this one.
Yeah, I think so. And
Tom Brady was the QB 10 against them in Week 1.
Okay.
yeah,
This is the second of the matchups. Do you think, Jay, they think that they will be able to alter things and kind of slow them down? Not that they've seen him once, or
no. If anything, I think that you've gotten the New Orleans Saints going the wrong direction since that Week 1, more than you've had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1, I mean, they had this weird COVID offseason with new pieces all over. The Buccaneers, and specifically Brady in the passing game, are getting better as the season has gone along. Now, the real concern in this matchup is the running game for both teams. Obviously, you're not going to bench Alvin Kamara, but these are two extremely stout defenses. Yeah, when you've got
You talk about wide receiver, Alvin Kamara? I mean, he's not even
he's a wide running back.
If you told me Alvin Kamara is not permitted by league rules to have a carry in this game, you're starting Alvin Kamara as your running back one. So that's the nice thing. But what about the other side? I mean, these are two stout run defenses, Fournette, Ronald Jones.
I would love to start neither. If I had to start one, it would be Leonard Fournette, because he is the pass-catching back, and you can. He's right now he's an RB2 for me, a low-end RB2.
What's the long history of Mike Evans with Marshawn Lattimore? Because
getting shut down.
Yeah, is that going to happen again?
Well, I mean, Week 1, I don't have the stat line in front of me. Let me pull it up. But it was the 1 reception, 1 touchdown, or was it 2 that week?
1 reception for 2 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah. So Marshawn Lattimore historically has had Mike Evans' number.
4 straight weeks that Evans hasn't been in the top 20.
Yeah, if you have you're probably starting Mike Evans because we don't expect Chris Godwin to be there. Well, it remains to be seen, because they keep talking about how Chris Godwin is practicing, but he's not catching passes. So I'm not really sure what he's doing.
It's something you got to be able to do as a
in
wide
practice,
receiver.
because I can't imagine they have them out there like running blocking drills with a
Isn't that
broken
Justin
finger.
Watson's actual role in the offense, just running around not catching passes?
That's fair. Would you rather have Justin Watson doing it or Chris Godwin?
So I'm not expecting that Godwin will play.
So then who do you throw the ball to?
Your start of the week.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he's going to get an opportunity in this game, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be on Sunday night, and I can't wait, because who knows? Who knows what you're going to see? That's exciting. I mean, Evans is still somebody that is hard to bench.
Correct.
So you can take your shot. I mean, if Godwin's out of there, it's really hard, I think, to sit Mike Evans. Rob Gronkowski has been the tight end 6, 2, and 4 the last 3 weeks. He is a play.
Welcome back, Gronk.
It's been great, and you know what? It's the same old Gronk in the sense that where did Gronk make his hay in fantasy? He's getting targets inside the 20 in the red zone. He's looking his way because it's reliable, and when it works out over and over again for your whole career, you tend to look that guy's way again in the red zone.
And they're talking about Gronk as just this blocking masterpiece. He's just been manhandling guys, which what that says to me is his body is back. He's physically getting back into the form that made him great. He's still young. He feels so old. He feels like because he retired, you're dealing with a Greg Olsen type of running back. But Greg Olsen's, what, 36? And Gronk is
31 and a half.
Yeah. Jared Cook, you play him because he's a tight end that performs. So that's always nice to have.
Ooh, question.
Yeah.
Would you play Jared Cook, who's been getting it done, but not the best matchup here, and you get Michael Thomas back? Or would you play Noah Fant against Atlanta, the worst team out there against tight ends?
You guys have probably picked up on it. My confidence level in Noah Fant on a week-to-week basis is not there. And I get it. He'll be targeted, but right now it feels like you're going to get 4 for 40 for Noah Fant and a lower opportunity at a touchdop. Albert O, you said, hey, he's only got 1 target. You know what it was? It was a touchdown. They bring him in the red zone and they throw him the jump ball because he can leap through the moon. So through the moon, right through it.
Right through the moon.
Not onto it, not
Well,
over it.
You
but
see, it's made out of cheese. So you could definitely go right through it.
you want to leap through the moon at the combine.
He wants the moon to look like his name. It's a big O.
Yeah.
Brooks, who would you pick out of those two? Oh, come on. That was a great joke.
That was not a great
That
joke.
was a bad joke.
He's the big O.
Yeah, it's just
Man. All right, 2 questions. Brooks, would you play Jared Cook or Noah Fant?
we're taking a poll for Jason's actual roster right now, just for the listeners.
Yeah.
I'll go Jared Cook.
All right, Jared Cook. And 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, how great was my big O cheese moon joke?
Give it a 7.
All right.
That's
great. Brooks, you're a man of the people.
I mean, just saying how having him rate a Big O cheese moon joke, not good, man.
You're right.
You sign his checks. So
Yeah.
all right, the New England Patriots at 2-5 taking on the New York Jets on Monday Night Football.
What?
Um,
No, they're not going to do this to us.
Well, the game's not going to be aired. It's not going to be aired.
Don't they have rules about they can move these games?
This is bad. This is bad. The Jets at 0-8, the Patriots at 2-5. Patriots are 7-point favorites. It's a 42.5 point over under, and they'll win the game.
Of course they'll win the game. They're playing against the Jets.
But I mean,
Oh no, Jason.
is Jason thinking about his own little almost upset here?
Jason, that face says you have something to say.
I mean, I know it's stupid and it's conspiracy, but they play the Jets 2 more times.
Oh, are they going to throw?
If they were to lose those 2 games, the Patriots could get the number 1 pick, and that's not. Well, no, I want to say that's not Belichick's way. Belichick plays to win, but Belichick plays to win. Look, we've all been in dynasty leagues. What do you do when you're rebuilding? You know what's best for your team. I mean, here's the reality. For fantasy football, there's not much to this game. It's going to be a low over-under. Cam Newton can be started because of his booty scooting. He's going to be running the ball. He's still been a top 12 option the majority of his weeks, even in these terrible games. I don't want to start him, but you can. End of list on the New England side of the ball.
Yeah, this is not complicated. We don't have to linger.
No.
In fact, it's painful to linger on these 2 teams right now with a combined win total of 2. Combined.
You're not starting Darnold. You're not starting Pirine. You're not starting Gore. If Crowder is back and active,
No.
yeah, I mean, if Crowder's back and active while he's not been practicing against a pretty good defense, what that says is you can't even try to start your Braxton Berrios and Mims. I think it's Cam Newton in this game, an end of list on both sides of the ball.
Really?
That's how I view it.
I'm fine playing Damian Harris in this matchup. I know that Sonny Michel is coming back, but he will not be back
I
yet.
agree with you. I think Damian Harris is is somebody you can put out there. I put him out there over Jordan Howard.
Yes. He's been impressive enough with his opportunities. Yeah, it's the Patriots. You might get Belichick. It could happen, but we've now seen double-digit opportunities for Damian Harris in 3 of his 4 games, including 2 games of over 100-plus rushing yards. So I'm fine playing Damian Harris here. The Jets are 17th against fantasy running backs right now. It could be worse.
All right. That is it for the matchups. We're not talking about that game anymore. A reminder again, the game day alerts on Sunday. One more segment for you.
Prop it like it's hot. Presented by Monkey Knife Fight.
All right, this has been extremely fun all year long. I encourage you to go to ballerspicks.com, use the code BALLERS, participate with us on these more or lesses on Monkey Knife Fight. Favorite prop of the week. I know you're not going to like it, Jason, but I'm going John Brown. The line is set at 54.5 receiving yards.
I don't like it.
And I am taking I'm taking the less. I'm not in on John Brown this week. I brought it up during the shows earlier in the week that him recovering from injuries, it just takes a long time. He has dealt with not just the injuries, but a lack of productivity, even though the snap counts have been up there. 96% of snaps against Kansas City, no receptions. 81% of snaps last week, 21 total yards. He had a great start to the year, but he was fully healthy at that time. I don't think he's there yet. Limited on Wednesday's practice. I actually think he didn't practice at all on Wednesday. They are still managing this perceived injury, so I think it's fewer than 54 yards in this game.
If he's injured, I get it. That's why I pulled him back from my start of the week. He was going to be because the matchup is so juicy, and I love it. He was a full participant in Thursday's practice, so that was a great sign, but obviously if you miss Wednesday, then at the very least you need rest, and he is an injury-prone player. I hate to give him that label, more of a high history with injuries. But I would take the more on yours, and let me tell you why.
He's slow to recover rate.
Yeah, let me tell you why I would take more on John Brown. Mike, you're up.
Because I have Josh Allen. The more or less is 275.5 passing yards, and I am taking the more. The Seattle Seahawks have held a passer under that number only once. They are allowing an average of more than 350 passing yards per game. And Josh Allen, it's been of a down couple weeks for him after his electric start. I get it. But still, in more than half of Josh Allen's games, we have seen him throw for more than 275 yards. We've seen him surpass the 300-yard mark as well. And I believe that Josh Allen can get past this 275 threshold, even if John Brown is held under the 54, as Andy is projecting. Stephon Diggs is going to just eat hamburgers all over this field. Cole Beasley.
I love it. I am a big fan of that one.
Why is he doing that?
Because they're delicious.
Shouldn't he
I
be
don't know.
catching the football?
Well, he'll catch it with one hand, and he'll.
That was like a combo of like you were going to say he's going to go ham.
Yeah,
and then now he's eating hamburger.
I have taken that.
What did you have this morning already?
That was a sausage.
Oh, that wasn't a hamburger?
Yeah, that was sausage. But I've taken the go hamburger, and I have ascended the comment, and we've created something new and a masterpiece. I'm going to throw out there.
I'm fully in.
I hope you feel good about yourself, Mike, because Mr. Cheese Moon Circle joke just loved your joke.
Yeah, congratulations.
But anyway, so Cole Beasley has also been great. The last week was an anomaly because of the weather, but with the weapons that he has, I think that Josh Allen will have more than 275.5 passing yards.
Yeah, 2 out of the last 3 games have been weather bowls for Josh Allen. This one projects to have no weather. I love this game. Andy, I'm going to bring up here a baller pick that I don't think you're going to like, and I don't think I like, and I don't think Mike's going to like. DeAndre Hopkins, more or less than 7.5 receptions. I love me some DeAndre Hopkins, but it's going to be less than 7.5 receptions. Even though he's been great, he's actually failed to hit that mark of basically 8 receptions in 3 of his last 4 games. The Dolphins' defense is super underrated. They're playing well, and I don't think that their offense forces the Cardinals to really need to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to run more in this game. So that's pretty high to me, 7.5. I'm taking the less.
Yeah, and you're not hurting my feelings there. Give DeAndre Hopkins 7 receptions, and I'm going to be happy with the result. He's been scoring, and that's a high number to hit for any wide receiver. So I think it's possible, but I get it. I definitely get it. All right, like I said, ballerspicks.com. You can come and participate with us and use the code BALLERS when you go to that website, ballerspicks.com, because you get a 100% deposit match up to $50, and you can participate in some of these. We've had thousands of listeners participate with us this year, and it's just a really easy to understand, fun way to participate and add a little bit of excitement to your weekend when you participate in one of these props.
And you can win some money. You pick 2, and if you get it right, there you go. You're in the money.
That'll do it for us today. Mike will be live with you on Sunday morning, so make sure you join him.
I will see you there. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.
And one final reminder for all of you out there, this comes from our friends at NHTSA. If you're stopped at a railway crossing and the signals are flashing, do not try to sneak across those tracks. Remember, an engineer, if they see you and they try to stop, it takes a mile. It's not going to happen, and there are too many accidents taking place around the country. You don't want to be a part of that resulting crash. They can be deadly. Remember, stop. Trains can't.